We're going to be looking at some very new items today and some forward-looking items on our product roadmap. So before we do that, we need to review Salesforce's Safe Harbor slide. If you are unfamiliar with this slide, all it asks of us is that since we're going to be looking at our product roadmap, we need to base any Salesforce purchasing decisions based only on current functionality.
Hi, I'm Deborah Strusenberg. I'm the product manager for Knowledge, and I'll be covering what's coming in both winter and spring 16. We have a really exciting release in winter 16. I am so happy to be able to share that Knowledge will be available in Salesforce 1. Yeah, this has been a long time coming. Thanks, guys. This was really popular at Dreamforce when we shared this, that you will be able to access Knowledge in both iOS and Android. Now, you may have seen, you may already, in fact, be accessing it through Android. We did a little pre-release in 7.3 version of Android without the actual Knowledge search capabilities. So you could still search and find articles through the Salesforce 1 global search, but that only returns 3 results. And that's a common pattern that global search has because it's searching across multiple objects. It has to really limit the amount of search results that come back. So with version 8 of both iOS and Android, we have a custom Knowledge search. So when you view articles, you'll see a search, and I'll demo that later. Additionally, there is a new look to Knowledge that Gautam showed with the Lightning console sidebar, and that was to continue that consistency across the console.
Deborah's being a bit modest here because for the Knowledge component in particular, it's more than just a new look. As you experience the new Knowledge component, you will notice that it's loading much, much faster. It loads immediately as the primary tab or the sub-tab loads. I just wanted to make sure that...
Thank you. No, the team worked very hard on that, actually. Really wanted to deliver a much more responsive experience there. So thanks for mentioning that. The team did work very hard on that. Additional features, we have the ability when you're in the console and you're working on cases, we have all the publishers and the Knowledge sidebar, and it's really important to make that experience of inserting an article into the publisher really smooth and seamless. And so now with Winter 16, you're able to insert your community URL into any of the publishers, the case publishers. So in email, in community, and social, you can actually pull the URL that would send the user to the appropriate community. So when they receive that and they click on the URL, it will take them directly to their community. You'll be demoing that later.
Yeah, I won't be demoing it today, but I think that's definitely been a feature that a lot of community moderators have been asking for. So this is really going to be, this is going to dramatically improve the productivity for agents actually moderating community.
Great. Yeah, we're working hard to try to look at all of the different ways that people leverage Knowledge. Knowledge is accessible throughout, many different channels, and we're just extending the reach and the interaction and integration of Knowledge throughout the Service Cloud. So. We're continuing down that path as we go forward. One additional feature which may seem small on the outside, but this has been widely requested. This is one of our top items that has been requested and has been on our backlog for many years, in fact, is that people wanted the ability to be able to go into the user, to view users and look and see who has the Knowledge user license. So maybe you are at that point where you're reaching the threshold and you want to make sure that if somebody has left the company or they're in a new role, that they don't actually have that Knowledge user license applied to them. So now you can go in and you can create a view, you can create a report, and easily see who has the Knowledge user license applied. This is beneficial for managers because they can see who actually has edit capabilities, but also for administrators so that they can reallocate when a license is no longer being used by somebody. Additionally, we have thumbs up, thumbs down ratings are now showing in the vote reports. So this is a feature that we actually introduced previously to not only allow you to do star ratings, but you can switch to thumbs up, thumbs down, which has really become more popular these days. But previously, you weren't able to see the results in the vote stat report. So that is added in Winter 16 to round out that functionality. And additionally, we have two packages that I'll be talking about, Article Feedback Management and Article Quality Index, that I'll show you in the demo. So let's go to the demo. First, I'm going to start off on my phone, and that's because I want to show you the Salesforce 1 functionality for knowledge. So you can see here that we've come into the stage left of Salesforce 1, and we now have articles available there. For anyone who actually is using the Android 7.3 pre-release version, you probably saw it as knowledge article versions. That was just one of those things that we chose to go ahead and do because it was pre-release, but now you'll see it now, and going forward you'll see it as articles in stage left. So once we go in, let's say I am continuing on into the outdoor adventure that Kendra started, and I want to know how to buy a snowboard. So I'm going to go ahead and do this search here. This is our knowledge search, and it brings you to this customized view to see the knowledge results. So you can see the title of it. You can also see the article number, the date of when it was last published, and some snippets. You can see that snowboard is highlighted because that's the word that I actually chose. If it was a synonym, you would also see the synonym highlighted as well. So I'm going to go in and say, okay, you know, I want to look at how to choose snowboards. So I'm going to click in on this article, and we can see that article in here. We can also go to the feed. If I had something here, I would be able to read it, or I could go ahead and put in a post, or I can go back to my article. So the great thing about having the feed details here is that you can mention other people. You can have some collaboration on that particular article right from your phone. So if you need to ask somebody a question about it, you want to mention somebody in your organization to point them to this particular article, or if you want to ask somebody to do something to update it, which I will show you later, then you have that feed accessible to you. Another way that you can access knowledge in your this is our iOS app, so you can go to your cases, and if you click into a case, you can go to your related section, and you'll see articles there now. And so you can go through and see any articles associated to a case and drill through and actually view that article right there in your phone. And this really makes a huge difference. You know, a lot of times previously we heard feedback from people that they didn't want to be tethered to their laptop. Of course, that desktop experience is very important, but you know, there are times when you have some critical situation that you're monitoring, or somebody needs to reach you and you're out, and you know, you need to be able to get to that important knowledge that you've been collecting in your knowledge repository. So now you have access to that anywhere that you are. So that is a great feature that we are really happy to demo and to show. I'll talk more about the future of where we're going with this next, but first I'd like to go to the desktop demo. Okay, so what I wanted to show here is two packages. These are AppExchange packages that are not quite out on AppExchange yet. They're done and ready. They're just finishing up security review. So they'll be out very soon. But the two packages, these are free packages. They'll be available under Salesforce Labs. And the first one is article feedback. I'll talk about that one first and do the next one second. So, you know, as I showed, you have feed access, article feed access, available both in desktop and in Salesforce 1 apps. So if we, actually, I'm going to start back here. If we go into an article, let's say this article, let's say I looked in and I went, oh, this is the old image. I need to update that. That's not the right one. And I don't have, let's say I didn't have the ability to, or I'm on the phone with a customer. I can't do it at that moment. So I'm going to go into the feed, and I'm going to use a agreed upon hashtag of article feedback. And I'm going to say, please update the image. And I'm going to share that. Now that's great to have that on the article and to know that something needs to happen right there. And the way that we would tell people today to make sure that that gets addressed is that somebody in the organization, someone or multiple people, need to be following this particular hashtag, that topic. And so what you would do is you would go in and you would follow it first of all here, so you'd get notifications if something came in. But you have to come in and look to see, did somebody put feedback in, And then you'd have to go and put a comment in, assign it to somebody, and then make sure that in fact that person takes it and addresses it and handles it. And it's very easy for something like that to be missed. Let's say I'm the one monitoring it, I go on vacation, or I'm busy with something else. It can take some time for me to come back and make sure that that gets assigned, or I may assign it to somebody and they're on vacation. I have to remember to keep coming back and checking that. So the package that we have takes that feedback and puts it into this object called article feedback. And so I can monitor in this view, I can look for new feedback that's come in, and you can see our how to choose climbing ropes item here. And when I drill in, it's created a record, and you can see the comment, please update the image. And you can track that it came in from an internal source. You can actually, if your feed is available through the community, you can tell your community about this particular hashtag if you want them to also be able to insert feedback here. And then it would say community and tell you the community name. But I can come in here and I can look at this. I can assign it. So let's say I'm going to assign it to somebody. I have all these KCS users in here, so I'm going to assign it to one of them. That's a methodology I'll talk about in a minute. And let's say then I can save that for them. They can come in and monitor what's been assigned to them, but I can as well. So maybe that KCS contributor isn't handling that quick enough. I can come in and take action. I can update the image. We do have the article information at the bottom. I'll show you that in a minute. But let's say I've gone ahead to the article and I've updated that image. So I can put in that the article, we have a few default actions that can be taken. You can either decide maybe this was a duplicate, you can archive it, you can update it, or you can decide that action really isn't needed. So in this case, we're going to say that the article has been updated. And I'm going to put an internal note to say, don't use that image again. Please remove from system. That's for us internally. That's for the team that's using this article feedback to really address maybe this is something that we need to take action on internally, or something that we don't necessarily want to share out, but that's to keep comments internally. I can also put a comment here to say image updated, and you can see the details here that I was saying before if you wanted to get more information about the particular article. When I save this, and I can go back to that article, you can now see that there's an update. So the original comment that I had in was please update the image, and now you can see my comment of image updated. The other comment that I kept for internal doesn't show here, but this is a way to make sure that as the feedback is being addressed, that there is a closed loop. You can, somebody doesn't come in here 6 months later and go, I wonder if that ever got addressed, They actually have a way to come in and see, oh, okay, great, that was closed out. I don't have to worry about that anymore. So this feedback management package is also available. You can run reports on it. You can track what kind of feedback you have coming in. You could look at who handles the most feedback. You can look at, maybe you want to look at some trends around what are the actions that are taken. And it's just a good way for you to keep track of and monitor, make sure that the feedback that's coming in is being addressed, and that you have metrics and trending on what's happening with it. So to go on to the next package, Article Quality Index, this is a package that is very closely aligned, and it's a tool for a methodology called Knowledge-Centered Support, or KCS. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over that. It's a very rich methodology. It's one that I have leveraged myself prior to my time here at Salesforce, and when I was responsible for knowledge program and global support operations. I highly recommend understanding more about it. You can go to serviceinnovation.org and you can look at the KCS Practices Guide to know more about that methodology. But this is a tool that directly feeds success around that. And we've had a lot of our customers that are that use the KCS methodology in their organization ask us for more tools to support their KCS experiences. Salesforce Knowledge is a KCS verified product. We were actually the first KCS V5 verified product. But we want to continue to deliver more and more features that will help be even more successful with KCS. So this is a package that is going to help do that. So actually, before I go into the actual article quality index, I want to mention that there's this Create AQI tab. And the reason for that is that the search experience that you're going to need to be able to do an article quality review is very different than you would search for knowledge. So when you're searching for knowledge, for other use cases, you're looking to find articles that meet specific search criteria, like it's a specific topic or you're wanting to use it to answer a question. In this case, this is typically a manager or a coach, somebody that is looking at their team of people that are responsible for cultivating that knowledge and putting articles in to monitor and see how they're doing in their quality. And the purpose for having this practice or this technique in the KCS practices methodology is that you want to train people in your organization to be able to put knowledge in, to be able to create articles and publish them in a timely fashion, but you want to be able to regularly monitor the quality and ensure that that quality is sustained for long periods of time, that it's not just a focus when you're training somebody, but then maybe later the quality, trails off. So in this case, I'm going to do a search for one of my KCS. Or actually, I'm going to do a search because I want to bring that snowboard article up. So I think that one was done, I think that was created by Peter. Let's try that. And I think it was maybe last modified last month. But maybe you would do a range. Often when you are a coach or a manager coming in and doing an article quality review, you would look for either a specific person or people in your team, and you'd look over a period of time to see what they've created in that period of time. So in this case, it's a different one than I thought, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and look at this particular article, and we will we'll create an AQI record for it. So one point I wanted to make here is that you can create an AQI record or an article quality review record for each version of an article. If this version already had one, this column here that says AQI, this checkbox would be checked. And in that case, when you went to create new AQI, it would just take you to the existing one. But in this case, we don't have one, so we're going to create a new one. And we get a standard set of questions that are commonly used with organizations that are following this technique. You have the default user here, Peter White, had created this article. But let's say we're using a workflow where Peter is actually a coach to somebody and somebody else did the work around the article, but he actually published it for them because they're not authorized to publish just yet. He has to do a review. So you do have the ability to change this for review purposes because you really want it to point to the person who actually updated the content. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and just keep it as it is. And the questions here are asking whether or not you want to check the box if the answer is yes. So article unique, let's say yes it is. Title's accurate, sure. Content complete, yes it is. Content understandable, it was great. Article meets the content standard. The content standard is something that you will see more of in the KCS practices guide. Properties were set appropriately, but there was a broken link in this particular article. So I'm going to leave that one there, and I'm going to say coaching is needed, and I'm going to save this particular record. So what that does is now you can see that there is an AQI score that came in. That is calculated based on these questions and the weights that are set for them. You do have the capability to change the weights. Maybe for you, having a unique article is more important than anything else, and you want to increase the weight on that, you can do that. And so the score calculates based on the weight and the answers of the questions. And so then you can go to your article quality index, you can look at a view for coaching needed, and here you can see which articles are actually needing some coaching. So then I, as a manager or coach, can go and sit down with the people that I coach. And I could sit down with Peter and use this as, not for punitive reasons. We don't recommend using this in any way for performance reviews or that. It tends to demotivate people when this is used in that capacity, and it encourages them to game. But really what this is better used for is an opportunity to provide coaching and to give some guidance on how quality can improve over time. So we could go in and sit down together, look at this, find out, I can explain that the link was broken or something else that I found. And occasionally we might have a good dialogue. Maybe there was a good reason why that happened. So we don't want to just assume that, the way that we've evaluated it, that there wasn't a good reason for doing it. But it creates a lot of great opportunity for dialogue. One more point about Article Quality Index is just that you also have some reports. So when you install this package, you have AQI reports that will show. And there are 3 reports. AQI Team Summary can be used to look across your team. So I'm going to actually collapse the details in this one. And you can look across your team and see what their score is. And I would recommend checking how many records were actually in the review. You can also change the period of time that you are looking at this for. When you have 1 record, that's kind of heavily skewing it. But when you have more than that, maybe you've done 5 reviews in a month, that's a more accurate picture of whether or not that person, what their quality level is. And again, I wouldn't use that for punitive reasons necessarily. I think it's better to use that for opportunities for coaching and helping them to improve over time. Additionally, there are other reports. You can go to your individual totals. So this is typically used by one person to themselves if they want to see what has been, what are the reviews for the cases that are mine or the articles that are mine. So you can come in here and look at which articles were reviewed, and I can see what my scores were, and hey, this one has a 0, or this one had a lot of zeros. What's going on with that one? So I myself can go in and drill in and check it out and see what happened. Maybe there's some comments or notes in there. And then finally, there is a report for individual totals by month. And this is a good way to show trending over a period of time. So is it getting better over time, or is it not? So that's how I would tend to use this report. It started out in May at 43%, but it's mostly been increasing and heading towards that 86%. And so the trend is generally going in the right direction here.
Great.
So let's go back to the slides. There we go. All right, so I just wanted to share what's coming up in Spring 16. We actually have a lot of work that a lot of really great features that are coming in spring and beyond. But in spring, we have started an effort that will continue on. You'll see this as a theme going for multiple releases, which is that we are really looking to better align with platform features. When the Knowledge product was first created, there was a lot of real, unique richness that was built into the product to give it the kind of power that our customers wanted out of the Knowledge product. But we're looking to now use that power, but also align with the platform itself in ways that are more standard when it's possible to. So we don't want to take away from the richness and power of the product, but there are ways that have become available for us to better align with the platform and deliver features that customers are used to throughout the rest of the Salesforce suite of products. And that has been widely requested of us. In Spring 16, we will be delivering page layouts and validation rules. Both of those have been widely requested, and we have heard a lot of great feedback in Dreamforce and other venues for getting those features available to you. We're also increasing our knowledge reach in terms of its visibility. So Chatter Plus and Force.com licenses will now have read access to knowledge articles, which means that the work that you're doing, that your organizations are doing to harness and leverage that collective wisdom across your organization can be shared with more people more easily. And finally, we have a feature for simplified setup. Today, when you go to set up Knowledge, you actually have to create a first article type before you can actually enable Knowledge. And this sometimes trips people up when they're first starting to enable Knowledge in their organization. And so now you'll be able to just enable Knowledge, and the default article type will be created for you. So it simplifies the setup process and addresses an issue that has been confusing for people in the past. And this is our spring release. We have a number of great things coming up beyond spring, including we're simplifying around our data model. We are looking again to increase our platform alignment, and we're going to be delivering our Lightning experience in the future.
And a couple of questions about the flexibility about article feedback. One from Susie, can it be initiated in other ways outside of Chatter? Is there another mechanism for providing feedback? And Jellomania wants to know if you can enable it for community users without giving them access to the feed.
Okay, let's see. So the first question, no, we are not at this time going to insert records there without using the feed. I think they both were asking kind of about using it without the feed. For now, no. Both of these are going to be managed packages at this point in time. They're new packages, and I've had a lot of conversation with people about, you know, how they plan to use them. I want to be able to push out those features and enhancements as I get them, and if we did an unmanaged package at this point, then you would have to reinstall it every time we deliver a new package, which, you know, at first I wanted to really make sure that we're hearing the feedback that we get and try to build it in and deliver a better package. You know, it's possible that at some point in the future we may do an unmanaged version of it, but for now, we're going to keep it managed, and it's going to be tied to the feed. But if you have feedback on that, I suggest putting it on Idea Exchange for Knowledge. I would love to hear that, and I would definitely, you know, consider other ways that we might get records in there. But really, the feed is our main source at the moment.